Hey folks, we're back again with another episode.
Every time you say we're back again, I want to rap something.
Like, guess who's back?
Back again. Or there's 6 different songs, like Backstreet's Back.
Alright.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I wish we could open up for those, so if any of you artists that are listening to our podcast.
Yeah, if the Backstreet Boys are out there listening.
you could totally
and
give
you'd
us
like
an
to
okay.
be on our podcast.
Or give us an okay to play your music.
Oh, it'd be cool to have the Backstreet Boys on here to talk about, trauma endured in celebrity.
Oh, gosh, to have a celebrity. We're going to manifest that, okay?
Yeah, if any of you celebrities out there want to come on and talk about some real shit, just let us know.
Yeah. So, by the way, this is Growing Up for Adults, Season 2. Today we're talking about strength-based relationships. So throughout the course of this month, we've had some guests talk about relationships and their journeys on relationships.
And we've
talked about
trauma and
toxic relationships. Yeah.
Toxic relationships.
So today it's going to be a little more lighthearted.
Yeah, we're talking about the good stuff
all
today.
the feel-good stuff about relationships. So I wanted to start off with, I Googled strength-based relationships just to kind of prepare for this episode.
And I thought we were talking about faith-based relationships, and I was like, I don't know if I could talk about that for a whole 30 minutes.
Or more.
But that's a component of strength-based.
Yes, so we'll touch on that. So, a strength-based relationship, I'm going to read this from Google, is a relationship that focuses on strengths of each person involved rather than trying to emphasize the word fix, weaknesses.
All right, so what do you think that means, Leanna?
In my professional term, or in my professional life, what that means is that you're going to create a relationship with this person that focuses on the things that they're good at. Because every person has something that they are good at. Every person has a strength, right? So even if it's just
somebody's really good at managing the finances, let them manage the finances.
Right.
That's what they're good at.
And then
if
also,
you're not, don't.
Also celebrating those strengths. A lot of the things that come in a relationship are good and bad. And so focusing on those strengths. So it reminds me of
for the good stuff.
When you're raising a child, they do something good and you're like, yay! You overemphasize it and you celebrate it, going on the potty. Going potty for the first time.
Good job.
I'm so proud of you.
Did you wipe all by yourself?
Yeah, I think
don't say that to your boyfriend. You can if you want.
I think that's a positive thing though. When you can praise somebody for doing something that benefits.
Well, and we need praise as human beings. We need to feel appreciated.
Yeah.
And if you're the person, my partner's the breadwinner right now, and he needs that validation for me to tell him, you know what, I appreciate all your hard work. Because sometimes it can feel like, I'm working so hard and for nothing. Nobody even cares.
Right. Why am I doing this? Right.
Yeah. But you do care, and it's important to just make sure that you're sharing those positive thoughts with your partner.
Right. And also looking at things in a positive lens is very important too. I always talk about perspective, because that's a huge thing that something easy that you can do for your partner as well as yourself, and something that can be easily done. We're going to talk about it throughout the life of this season, about perspective and ways that we view things. But in a relationship, you want to view things as strength-based, not negative. Not in the negative
you
lens.
were just talking about a person that you know that has a very negative outlook on life. And I was saying that when you have negativity inside here, that is the window through which you're viewing the world.
It's 100% going to manifest
if you
outside
see
of you.
Things as negative, if you're feeling negative on the inside, that's how you're going to see things, because that's what's going on in here.
Right.
And it puts a film up in front of your eyes that you see that through.
Right. And that's the perspective change that we're wanting to do, is if you feel like you're negative towards love, you were talking about this person who is negative towards love, and so that person is attracting non-loving human beings into their
pushing
life.
away things that would be loving.
Right. And
you're going to attract what you are, not what you want.
Right. So that perspective is important in relationship. And this is not just like, because we're talking in this mini series about more so significant others and romantic relationships, this can be, the strength base can be anything. Family, friends,
work relationships.
Yes, all of it. Any clients that you may work with, like all of it can be strength based, can be anything. It's not just for significant others. So like the way that we do it in my relationship, I pride myself because we have a good thing going. The way we do it is when that person is being negative, when the other person is being negative, so like I'm having a negative day, he's having a negative day, what happens is we don't sit in that with each other. What we'll do is we will acknowledge that person's feelings, because I think that's important. When a person is feeling a way, we don't want to dismiss it. So I always
get over it.
Yeah, you're fine. What have you got to bitch about? I mean, I've probably said that every once in a while when I'm not in my best self. But for the most part, I would say, I'm sorry you're feeling that way. Is there anything I can do to support you? Or, for the most part, that's kind of how it goes. And then...
Or something you told me about, like a trick when you feel like your partner is like being really negative or stuck in a negative loop, you can say, what's one good thing that happened to you today?
Yeah, the gratitude list.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And I feel like that really does switch up the energy. I've tried it a couple times.
Yeah. Was it pretty successful?
Yeah. It kind of like stops the negative rant and then kind of forces you to like, okay, what, did anything good happen today?
Yeah, you have to change your perspective right in the moment. And then what we'll do is, at that point, once the feeling is validated, then we'll go towards more of the strength-based stuff. Like maybe I will ask him or he'll ask me, like, what's something good that happened today? Or, to kind of bring you out of that slump, like you said. Mm-hmm. And then, if we have to continue to talk about the negative feeling, I know that I have been triggered in the past about that, like him needing to vent, because people need to vent, like, especially if it's your partner, like you're their person most likely, and they are who you feel or who they feel safe with. Did I say that right? You are who they feel safe with to do that. There. And and then so that venting, it used to trigger me a lot because I don't like to sit in negative feelings. Yeah, I really, really took it personal, and so don't do that.
Easier said than done. But.
Yeah. So don't do that, and just allow them to work through that feeling, and then I've noticed, like, it takes a couple minutes, the rant is over, and then you guys just move on about your day, and then putting in that strength-based realm of, well, what can we do to make it better? What can we do to move forward with this? I think that's something important.
So the overarching thing we're saying is shift your perspective to focus on the good things, the good qualities that each of you have, and then, like, what are some tools that people can use to do that? So like in real time, let's say you have a relationship where maybe you're focusing more on the negative and you're trying to have a strength-based relationship. Mm-hmm. What are the first steps in kind of shifting that?
I think working on you is always the first step, right? Like doing some personal growth within yourself, I think, is the first steps, because that's what I had, just relating back to my own shit, like.
And people around you learn those things that you're learning, like osmosis. Like, my kids will learn things that I did not teach them, but that I have learned.
Yes.
And it's almost like they sense it, and suddenly they have that tool also.
Well, it's a parallel processing thing. Like, it's totally talked about in the management world like that, but that's what it is. Like, or...
I like osmosis better.
Yeah, I do. I think that was funny. It just reminded me of the little dude in the movie. But yeah, I think doing some deep reflection, and like, even if you're working through things as they come, like I've done that with my partner too, and like he's vented and I was in a bad headspace, and I'm like, I can't do this right now.
Mm-hmm.
And then we talk about it later. It's like, what happens? Like, why couldn't you just listen to me vent like you always do? And it was just like, well, you know, I had to really do some deep diving in that moment and say that, you know, that maybe I wasn't in a good headspace too. And I felt really uncomfortable in that situation. And that's just that was my response in the moment. And then we worked past that too. So there's communication comes out of that.
I think too, like when you've been in a relationship for a while, you know, once the honeymoon phase is over, you can kind of forget, like you get used to the good things. So like, I was reading an old journal the other day or something. I was reflecting back and I kept seeing like, oh, it was old text messages between me and Wade. And I was like, oh, you filled up my gas tank. You're so sweet. You're the best. Like, you're so nice. You take such good care of me. And I'm like so happy that he did that because I'd never had that really experience before of somebody just taking my car and filling it full of gas, which he does all the time. But the new wears off and you stop getting like surprised by that and you stop getting excited by that because that just becomes the norm.
Right.
But it's good to remember like that wasn't always a part of your reality, and it is a nice thing that he does that's out of his way that he thinks is helpful to you.
Right. I guess what I'm hearing you say is like pay attention to the small things always.
Yeah, and just remember to appreciate the things that, because that person is bringing something to the table.
Right.
You just sometimes forget what those things are.
Right.
Like, especially we as women sometimes feel like we're doing everything. Like, we're working, we're also doing laundry, we're also meal planning and grocery shopping and cooking and cleaning and taking care of the kids and setting up doctor's appointments. And he just goes to work. Cool, thanks. I'm really getting the short end of the stick here. But this goes back to like when you have a strength-based relationship, you're looking at each other's strengths. So my strength is to juggle a lot of balls and to be able to organize everything, and it makes me feel good to know what's going on with all of these things.
Yes, yeah.
So I want to
And I think that's more of the women, like the traditional role. Like you play more of the traditional role in your relationship.
Yeah.
But that is a huge strength to your relationship.
And I want to cook the meals, and I want to pick what they are. So, like, it can feel sometimes like an annoying thing that I have to, but I have to remember that that's actually what I wanted to do.
Right. Perspective.
Yeah. And while Wade, you just go to work, he gets his butt kicked every single day. He works really hard, and then he still finds time to, like, take me on vacation, or we go to dinners, or... You know, he fills my gas tank so that I don't have to. If it snows, he cleans my car off. Like, he does these things that I don't want to do, that are his strengths. You know,
and you guys play off of that.
My sunroof shattered the other day. Shattered into a million pieces for no reason. And there was only, like, one place up here that could do the sunroofs. And, like, 4 days later, he goes to call them, because I had called them. And he's like, what's going on with this? And they're like, we haven't even ordered the part yet. And he's like, I'm going to handle this. And I'm like, okay. So he calls a completely different one that's in a neighboring town that he knows. They don't even do sunroofs. He convinces them to do the sunroof. He convinces them to do it before the insurance has even been authorized. It's already done and fixed. Insurance hasn't even authorized it yet. So, like... He has his strengths in this relationship. And sometimes I forget what those are because I can be like, well, I had to put the baby to bed again and you didn't brush his teeth. Yeah. And
you get into the day-to-day life and you get into that rut of like thinking about like picking and pointing out like all the things you didn't do. Right?
And I'll be honest, sometimes I just want to fight, you know? Like I grew up in a chaotic environment.
A woman who wants...
I recognize that about myself though. Like sometimes I just need a little... Well, I need a little zing, you know? I need a little something to fight about. And then once I fight about it, like, sometimes Wade knows that about me, too. And he'll be like, do you just want to fight with me? And I'm like, oh, yeah, I guess that's what I'm doing here.
You know, Dylan calls me out, too, all the time. He's like, because I'll get in moods like that, too. I don't know if it's a woman thing or, like you said, trauma maybe thing. You know, just needing the chaos to, like, survive or feeling like you need the chaos to survive. Post a comment if you're like that because we are definitely like that.
Post a comment about what your favorite strength-based relationship tip is, too. Because I'd like to see if anybody has anything that we're not touching on.
So, but Dylan likes to call me out, too. He's like, do you just want to pick a fight or... You know, are we going to have a good day? Are we looking
for a resolution here, or you just want to fight about it?
Sometimes I'll be like, maybe I just want to fight about it. And he's like, okay, well, I'm not willing to do that, so
I know, it really steals the thunder of the, you know, I'm trying to really have an argument with you here, and you're really not making this fun for me.
Yeah.
way to make me be an adult in this situation.
Well, fuck you too.
Yeah.
No, just kidding.
Fine.
But yeah, I think, and that's having a strength-based partner for us, right?
Yeah, like they're really somebody that can see you.
Yeah. For who you are.
That can talk things through with you. Like, instead of getting defensive, because that's what we do sometimes, we get defensive. And instead of doing that and stepping back and being like, why? What's going on? What's happening on the deeper level here? That this is because we're not fighting about the Tic Tacs I bought last Tuesday. You're not actually upset about Tic Tacs. So what's underneath that?
Yeah,
like having that level of perception.
Isn't there a book about like something about like why didn't you throw the laundry in the hamper or something? Like, is there? You're the reader, so I'm asking, or is there some kind of... I know that there's something. If you know what I'm talking about, please post it, because there was a woman who wrote a book or did something about like talking about her husband, or like made a post or something about...
I feel like it had a cuss word too, like...
Talking, like, why the fuck did you not throw the clothes in the hamper?
Do the laundry.
Yeah, something like that. And it's like, and in whatever she wrote, whatever her writing process is, I remember reading it, and she's talking about you being mad about throwing the clothes on the floor right next to the hamper, when really, if you take a deeper dive, you're not really pissed about the clothes being on the floor. There is more to it than that. And that's where the perspective comes in. Like, you've
assigned yourself this task, that this is something that you have to do, and he's making it harder for you to do it, so he doesn't love you. He doesn't respect you. He's not helping you.
Right.
It's a bigger issue than, like, oh, he has this stupid habit of throwing his clothes on the floor.
Right. And it's like perseverating on those. Because I'm sure my partner can perseverate on 100 million things that I do that annoy the shit out of him, and then I could do the same as well. But that does no good if we're trying to build a life together.
You know, this is making me think about our podcasting friendship relationship. Like, we have our own strengths.
Yeah.
So, like, the social media, that's my strength. Mm-hmm. The editing has become your strength because you've fiddled with it enough that you are, and you're interested in it enough. It made you curious. And, like, I'm like airy-fairy, Flight of the Fairies, off on 700 different, like, tangents, and you're very, like... I always think of a typewriter where it's like, back to over here. And you're like, okay, let's just circle back. Remember we were talking about this. Like, that's your strength.
Yeah.
So, like, you, in any relationship, like you said, like, there are going to be strengths. And sometimes we have issues in our friendship.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I think that that's because we're focusing on the things that we're different in.
Yes.
The areas that we are, like, annoyed by.
The differences.
You know? Whereas if we took our own advice and we focus on the positive things,
like, she's really good at this, I am really good at this. Yeah. This is how we build a business.
And that's why it's working, because we both have our strengths.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's, like you said, that's any relationship. And if you're so focused on the negative, if your perception is so focused on, you know, he didn't put the laundry in the hamper, and oh my gosh, I have to unload the dishes again for the 27th night in a row. You know, if you're focused on all of those, you have no time to focus on the strengths.
Now, don't gaslight yourself either. Like, if there are bad things happening in your relationship, you don't have to try and talk yourself into looking at just the two tiny awesome things that happen and ignore all the huge bad things that are happening. Okay? Do not gaslight yourself and lie to yourself into thinking that that's all those things are okay because of these couple good things.
Right.
Keep it in perspective still. But for most of us, we have a mostly good relationship, and it can be even better if we're focusing on the good stuff instead of focusing on the negative stuff.
Yeah. Listen to our toxic relationship episode, because that talks about some of that too.
Yeah. So I think having faith is a part of a strength-based relationship, because I thought we were talking about faith-based relationships.
I think it's a good point to bring up too, because some people develop their relationships around their faith, whatever that may be, and then some people are more like perspective. So I would say I'm more of like the perspective person, not really bringing faith into our relationship.
Well, you're having faith in your relationship.
That too. Okay.
Like, when you believe that your relationship is going to last the test of time, you're going to be presented with opportunities for it to last the test of time.
Okay.
But if you don't have faith in your relationship, then you're going to be bringing about opportunities for it to fall apart.
That's it.
But I also like
perspective.
I personally like faith in a relationship too, because when times are tough, I've experienced times that are tough, and I lean on God when those times are tough. And if I have a partner that also leans on God, I feel like that's a place where we can meet in the middle. Mm-hmm. Like, I saw this TikTok where this lady was like, me and my spouse, we prayed together, and I was like, God, if I am not meant for him, if you did not make me for him, and you did not make him for me, you show us a way to end this relationship kindly to one another. Mm. Which I thought was beautiful.
Yeah.
And then if we are meant to be together, you did make us for each other, show us how to strengthen this relationship. And then they are just open to whatever sign that God brings into their lives. Mm-hmm.
While they're doing the work, though, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, like, if you have a faith in a higher power, then you have a faith that the things that come about are not just coincidence.
Right.
And that they serve a purpose. And the whole relationship serves a purpose. And it doesn't all feel like it's for nothing, whether it's good or bad.
Yeah, I could see that. Because I don't know if I really have a higher power or have like I said, I don't bring faith into our relationship. But I do feel like we have a higher purpose of being together. Like, you know, there's those relationships, any relationship where you're like, you talk to that person and you're like, we're here for a reason. Mm-hmm. And that's how I feel about my significant other. That's how I feel about us. Like, mm-hmm. we're sharing these messages for a fucking purpose. And this is something that, you know, when we get together and we do this and we have these talks and we get to have people, it does. It feels like we're changing lives, I guess. You know, that's what my hope is anyway.
We're probably not changing everyone's lives, so we're not tooting our own horns too loud, but if we can share an episode that has one thing that's valuable to somebody, then that's worth the time that we spent on the podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, if this episode, most of it doesn't resonate with you, but the one thing I said, you were like, oh, you know what, I really like that. I'm going to use that. Mm-hmm. And it improves your relationship. Worth it.
Worth it, 100%.
Yeah. Yep. Like, we're not doing this to, I don't think we're ever going to be, like, a podcast famous. I mean, we could be.
We could be.
If we could just get the Backstreet Boys on here.
Where are you at?
Then we'd be podcast famous. But I mean, we have genuine purpose. Yes, like, the reason that we're here, that we're recording these, is not to get famous. It's to share this information,
strength, knowledge,
and grow together. Like, we're growing collectively. We're growing ourselves, and we want to help other people grow because it's possible. We believe that, and we want to share that.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever had a time where, I want to talk about like what a strength-based relationship is not? So have you ever had a time where you have been in a...
Most of my relationships, what are we talking about?
Yeah. Is there one, when I say that, is there one that pops into your brain, and what did that look like?
One that wasn't strength-based?
Correct.
Like a toxic one?
I guess that's true, yeah. I mean, or just a negative one. Like, it didn't have to be toxic, but it could have been, you know, negative.
I feel like majority of my relationships, friendships included, have not been strength-based, because I have had a tendency to focus on the negative. Mm-hmm. And I having to switch my own perspective and the lens through which I view the world so that I can see the positive. Mm-hmm. I feel like I'm always looking for the negative as, like, where's the danger?
Why is that?
Trauma response.
Yeah.
You know, like, I grew up... I feel like it's, like, harping this thing. Like, I'm very grateful for my childhood. I'm grateful for the quote-unquote traumatic experiences because they've made me who I am.
Correct.
And there was a lot of good that happened in my childhood, too. But I had to look for danger early on. Like, who's dangerous? Who can I trust? Who can I not trust? Mm-hmm. And I do that in life, too. I look for the negative qualities. How can this go wrong? Mm-hmm. First and foremost. Like,
I just want to weed this out so I don't have to get hurt.
Yeah. And then I kind of plan it out in my head, like, if the worst case scenario, what is that? But I also plan out best case scenario. So, like, actually, no, that's a lie. I don't plan out best case scenario. I hope for the best in a vague sense, and then I plan out in detail the worst sense, which I'm working on. And now, when I catch myself planning the worst, I think, okay, what is the best possible way this can work out?
Yeah, you change that.
And so that I've this is like a safety thing for me. I don't know that I'll ever be able to change the negative part, like where I plan out the worst case scenario.
That's okay.
So at least when I catch myself doing that, I plan out best case scenario. Because then that's what I want to attract, is the best case scenario.
Right.
And when I'm thinking, like, this person's going to let me down, guess what? They fucking let me down. Because it's almost like they can feel that energy. And
they're like manifesting it in the relationship.
I'm expecting you to fail. So the person is like, well, they already expect me to fail. Why would I try?
Right. And that could portray in other parts, because if you think something, people, I'm just telling you that your energy is felt. Mm-hmm. Whether you're a person who feels energy or not, that energy is felt.
Yeah.
Like when people walk up to me and they have a negative energy, I have to put up that wall of like, I don't want your negativity. My Sally Sunshine is going to spread to your negative Nancy, and we're just going to work.
This makes me think
way.
of something. My friend Leisha, she we've been at football games and she's been thinking a lot about like energy too.
Yeah.
And she's like, when she sees the boys are starting to get, her kids are starting to get like negative energy, like the game's not going good, she's like, I'm gonna push out all my positive energy, and she's like pushing it towards the field.
She's physically doing this.
Yeah.
I can see it.
Like, energy's a real thing, and if you don't believe us, then tune in for our episode with Tandy and Deborah, who are going to talk about energy a little bit. They don't talk about it a bunch, but it's in their book, which is the information is in the podcast. But
so it's
energy's real.
It'll come out, and it's amazing the work that they do with people. So stay
have you
tuned
ever
for that.
seen like somebody have faith in somebody? Everybody's telling them, don't have faith in that person. Like, that's a bad idea. Mm-hmm. They're going to screw you over. Mm-hmm. And the person is like, you know what? Nope. I have faith in them. They're going to get this. Mm-hmm. And they do.
Yeah.
Because the person could feel that energy. Like, this person believes in me. I don't want to let them down. I want to achieve that thing that they think I can achieve. They think I can do it.
It's real shit. Like, in my professional relationships, I work with people who I know nothing about. I get documentation of all of the bad things this person has done, right? Mm-hmm. Like, all of the worst, they're probably, most of them are at the worst place in their whole lives. And I get to read that. That's what I read. That's my first interaction with that person, is all of the bad things.
I never thought about that. But man, you don't get to see any of the good stuff. How are you supposed to have like a good impression of these people when you only have heard the negative?
Right. So I get to read all of these things that have all of the bad things in it, and then I have to go out.
Hate that.
Well, here's the cool part, is that we get to go out, meet these people, and find all of the good things about them. Digging out all of the good things. Digging out, working with them to find those, because they may not even know that they have the good things too. And like, that is the cool part about this job. This, I'm a social worker. You get to help that person see themselves for probably the first time.
You know what's so funny about that? Like, life is like that. Like, when we talk about perception, people have these lists of all these negative things about themselves, and they don't allow themselves to see the good stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas if we could just make a list of all the good stuff about us, that would help us to learn to love ourselves more. Mm-hmm. And it would change everything. That change the lens with which
So what you're saying is we should all just be social workers and like, I'm just kidding.
I mean, some people should be social workers for sure. But have you ever, I heard somebody say the other day, they're a good person, but they're in the wrong job.
Yeah.
Like, some people are not meant for social work, and some people are. Yeah. And some people are not meant to be fast food workers, and some people are.
Right.
Like, it's knowing yourself, and if you can have a positive impact on people in that role, then do it.
Right.
But if you can't, then don't.
Right. So I think in a relationship, though, whoever it be with...
See, this is my tangent, and you're bringing it back.
You're okay.
Everyone imagine the typewriter.
Strength-based. I think whatever relationship that you're in, I think it's good to find that one good thing about that person and kind of hold on to that and then grow on that. Because if you can do that for somebody, that person may not have that skill or that.
And when you go looking for the good, you're going to find it.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to find more than you thought was there.
Right.
Like, what are all the good things about this person? And you go hunting for them, you're like, whoa, look at all this stuff. Like, you didn't know was there.
I just found treasure.
Yeah. The treasure's in there. You just got to look for it sometimes. Right. If you're looking for dirt, you'll find the dirt. If you're looking for the treasure, you'll find the treasure. It's all perception.
So when you put in that perspective, it's funny, I'm going to make a little quote thing if you guys haven't already put it together, but like we'll go somewhere, like they call it a treasure hunt for a reason, right? And so like you go somewhere, let's say you're on a deserted island, there's sand fucking everywhere. Like you're able to find all the gritty, gross sand that gets stuck between your butt crack. Like that's everywhere. That's everywhere, okay? You have to hunt for the treasure to find it, and that's kind of like the strengths. The strengths of the treasure. The sand is
easy
the
to
negativity.
find the sand.
Yeah.
But you might have to hunt a little for the treasure.
Cool. I think I might call this episode like
Buried treasure.
Treasure hunting.
Treasure island. Treasure planet. Captain Jack Sparrow.
So, to kind
Why
of...
is the rum gone?
Why is all the rum gone? That's a negative perception. Say, oh, wow, I got to enjoy that rum.
It's not, why is all the rum gone? It's, wow, look at how much fun we had drinking all that rum.
Yes, exactly. See? Yeah. That's how it works. So...
There's a fine line here between gaslighting. I gotta point that out. Like, there's a fine line between being positive and gaslighting
How
yourself.
so?
Well, I think sometimes... Like this sentence, the rum. Like, are we not going to pay attention to the fact that we just drank a lot of rum and that was probably not good for us? Instead, we're focusing on, oh, we had such a good time drinking all this rum. You know, like, and the same can be said for relationships sometimes.
Yeah.
Like,
okay.
And honestly, you got to just listen to your gut. You got to zoom out and you got to see if there's more good than there is bad. And you got to look at it as a whole. Because sometimes when it's mostly bad, you can gaslight yourself by focusing so hard on the good stuff. Like, oh, but he makes such good money and he takes such good care of me. But he cheats on me and occasionally beats the hell out of me. But, you know, I'm so lucky.
Yeah, I'm so lucky I get to live this life. Yeah.
So, I just want to have that caveat in there. Like, zoom out, look at your relationship as a whole. And for most of us that we're talking to today, it's going to be mostly good. But there are relationships out there that are mostly bad. Don't gaslight yourself by focusing so hard on the good ones that you're trying to ignore the bad ones. Right. And when you try and do that, those bad ones are going to keep coming up and punching you in the face.
Yeah.
Hopefully not physically. Same.
Oh, man. It's been quite a conversation, I think. I want to hear from you guys, like she said earlier. I want to hear some of the things that work good in your strength-based relationships. So if you could leave that in the comments of... you know, what things are working well in your relationship.
Let's do a rapid fire, too, like, of things that we think are good for, like, people to do to improve their relationship, like, to create strength-based.
Okay. So, like, you're posting your... Listeners are posting what works for them, and then...
And then we're going to rapid fire what we think is, like, the coolest things.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So, like one thing that I love that we do, and we do this as a whole party and not just as me and Wade, but we do a me and Wade thing afterwards. On New Year's, we make a list of things that we're grateful for the year before, and then we make a list of things we want to achieve in the next year.
Okay.
And so we do that as, like, a party. I do that as, like, a New Year's Eve party thing. But I also... do that, me and Wade do that for our relationship. So, like, what we're grateful for each other for the year, what we would like to build for the next year.
Oh, cool.
And then we read the one from the year before, see if we did that, see where we are, and kind of have, like, a realignment situation at the beginning of the year to kind of see where we are. You could really
do that anytime, you know? Let's say you guys are kind of in a rut, you can come together and just do that as, like, a quick little gratitude type project, activity, whatever.
You could do, like, a gratitude journal, like, what am I grateful for in my spouse every day or something in the morning, like, 2 things you're grateful for them.
Yeah. I also wanted to share a fun thing, and I've talked about this maybe in another podcast, but it's called The Energy Bus, and it's a book that I read earlier this year, and it's really all about perspective and changing your perspective on how you team with other people. And so that's kind of if you guys are into reading, that's a cool book.
And another one on the same kind of topic for improving your relationship is called I Need Your Love, Is That True? By Byron Katie. She teaches you tools to, like, evaluate, like, he doesn't love me, and then you say, is that true? And then you say, okay, reverse it. What if the opposite of that was true? And you kind of go through this step-by-step process where you can kind of change your perception to look at things in a different way and see what's actually true and what's not.
Ooh, good one.
So that's a good one, too. And have fun with your partner. I feel like that's a good one.
Oh,
We get so busy doing the day-to-day stuff. you gotta remember to have fun with your partner.
You gotta remember it, like the date nights. You gotta remember the alone time. Like sometimes
laughing together.
We're so exhausted that like we don't want to go get dressed up and go have dinner, or maybe, you know, finance is a big thing sometimes, and maybe you can't afford to go, you know, out to like a fancy
have
place
a box
for
of
dinner.
mac and cheese and sit on the floor.
Seriously,
and just talk to each other.
that's
no
what
TV on.
Seriously, that's what we do. Or we'll sit together and we'll, you know, watch a funny movie and to reminisce on times that we watched in the, you know, just spending time together and having fun together and laughing
and thinking
creating
about the reasons you got together.
Yeah.
Like what brought you guys together in the first place? Like reminiscing about like when you first met and like what drew you to that person initially, and just like talking about those things. Like I think that's fun.
Those are exciting.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Praying together I think is a good one too.
Yeah.
But if that's not your faith, I'm not shoving it down your throat. So.
But yeah, it
meditate
is important.
Together.
Meditate
Go to a
together.
healing retreat. Get zen.
There you go. Yeah, I don't know if I have anything else to share, but if you guys want to hear more about this or want to talk perspective with us, like please just let us know.
Or if you're a relationship expert and you would like to come on and talk about this on our podcast, reach out to us.
Yes, please do.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well,
share this with somebody that needs it.
I think that we might have one more. This is our last one.
Oh, we have one more because we're going to talk.
One more.
Well, we're going to share a whole podcast about.
Oh yeah,
tips
next
for
podcast
relationships.
Resources.
Yeah.
So come to our next episode next week that's launching, and you guys can get a bunch of resources about relationship, good or bad.
We're going to talk about all of them.
All of
in
them.
one place.
So stay tuned for next week's drop, and we will see you next time.
Yeah.
Bye. Thank you.